Spurs v Man City. So the first thing we want to talk about is the managerial matchup. So first of all, this is a question for both you and Rose. Was there any actual fear from you lot's side that Pep was actually going to lead this season? And what's your expectation for Pep this season?
As far as the fear was going, for me, no, I didn't think he was going to leave. I've just always had it in my mind, looking at him, that he's happy here. It's different for him here. All the interviews coming out of the club, he was saying he was happy. And I know from people in the club that he's building something for further down the line. All the academy teams are playing the same way. He's talking about players like under 16, under 17 that he likes. So if you're planning on leaving, would he go that deep? I don't think so. And I just think he's got unfinished business. You know, what he's done in England is really good. He's a hero at Man City. He's a god. He can get away with murder there. But, you know, the rest of the world and the media are always going to whip him with the Champions League stick. And we all know what happens in the Champions League. Something just goes wrong and he just never quite raises to the challenge with City. But, you know, he's got unfinished business. And when Lionel comes and joins him, you know, it's all systems go.
It's funny that you mentioned that something always goes wrong, because you don't want to state the obvious, Steve. You don't want to state the fact that a certain manager likes to overthink and likes to overcomplicate. You don't want to mention that, bro.
No, listen, you can say that, but at the end of the day, he's got 2 Champions Leagues under the belt, yeah? These managers out there who've been going for years. Yeah, but been going for years and they've not got it. At the end of the day, yeah, he probably does overthink it. That Leon thing was inexcusable for me, but at a club like City that have only been in the Champions League probably 11, 12 years, he's going to get away with it here. If he was at someone that was like Bayern Munich, or if he was back at Barcelona, would he get away with it there? Probably not.
Rose, I know Steve's obviously covered off like whether he thought Pep was going to leave, but realistically, what is your expectations for Pep this season? Like, what constitutes as a good season for Pep this year?
Everyone's going to say the Champions League, but I just feel like this season, especially with everything that Pep's like gone through this year, you know, with his mum passing to COVID and, you know, him grieving, I just feel like he's going to be given more time. And that explains the new 2-year contract. I feel like they're just trying to take that pressure off him, especially the owners. And it just shows that they're just willing to give him all the time that he needs. Do I expect City to win something this season? Maybe an FA Cup, maybe a League Cup. I don't really see us winning the league or the Champions League this season. I just feel like we're not ready. And, you know, the injuries to Aguero, Fernandinho, I'm hoping, however, that they're back once we get to the last 16. But it's just not the same City side, is it? We need another striker, in my opinion, and we need another defensive midfielder, in my opinion. So a good season for Pep. I don't know. I don't think he's going to have the best season. I think we'll probably just win, you know, maybe an FA Cup or a Carling Cup. That's what I think.
So, Tops, I'm going to come to you on this, because obviously Pep Guardiola now, like a lot of people incorrectly brandish him as a checkbook manager. But when you look at it in black and white, less black and white, not like adding context into it, the guy does tend to spend quite a lot of money. Players. This summer, he's brought in a £65 million centre-back, a £40 million centre-back, a £20 million winger. I can't even remember who else he got signed this summer as well. But it seems as if, obviously, Rose is saying that he's not going to win. He's not really going to win much this season. But do you think that he has more to prove than, say, Jose Mourinho, his opposition this weekend?
Like my take on Pep is a funny one, because I've always thought he's probably been like in the top sort of, you know, percentage of elite managers. I feel like what he did when he was at Barca and when he did it at Bayern, very, very reputable, and actually he's probably earned the right to be named as like an elite manager. But I do feel that something, well, actually, apart from the season where they got more than 100 points and won the league, I thought City were unstoppable. I actually felt City were at a level that no team I've ever seen in my lifetime basically reached. But
I hear that.
I almost feel like right now it really is Champions League or bust. And I know we did speak about these games where he has somewhat overthought and made sort of silly decisions in terms of personnel and tactics. But the kind of club that City are now, they are, they're a top side, they're a top European side. Teams don't really want to play them. They're always going to be in and around the top sort of areas in the Premier League. So you'd kind of be thinking that if you've won a couple of Premier Leagues, a fair amount of domestic sort of titles, the next level really would be the Champions League. And for some reason, that hasn't materialized. I think it's also kind of difficult to kind of put him in like a comparison to Moruinho, because Moruinho is a very unique manager. He won his Champions Leagues at a time where football was kind of different. Under Porto, it was very pragmatic. Under Inter, it was, whilst it was largely attacking football, it was a system that worked with the players that seemed to play perfectly at the time. So to be able to compare the two, it's a bit difficult. Like this term, checkbook manager, it's, do you know what? Like it doesn't help. It doesn't help because he spent a lot of money, and it just happens to be that the two times that he's won the most elusive championships have been with Messi, or the Champions Leagues that he's won, they have been with Messi. So I kind of want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but you can't really ignore like the amount of money that he spent. I mean, like I think over his time at City, he spent something like more than 250 million on like fullbacks. To me, that's remarkable. I can't. I don't know. I wouldn't. Do you know what? I used to call him a fraud. I know it sounds crazy.
Not a fraud.
I used to call him a fraud. I used to call him a fraud.
I'm sorry. We're not going to have the F word branded.
Exactly.
The F word and Pep Guardiola are not going to coexist.
As I said, like when he had that City season where they won the league, more than 100 points, I pulled back from that point, and I was like, you know what? He's improved the players. They're playing a brilliant side of football, but I do think that there's just something a little bit missing now with the Champions League, and I feel like unless he gets that monkey off his back, it's always going to be, was he as good as he could have been at City? But I suppose this new 2-year contract as well, he's got time to do it, probably more money to spend.
I'm gonna come to you next, Si, on this, because I know we've spoken about Pep a lot, and I do agree he's not a fraud generally, but I do think there's a little bit of fraudulence in Europe. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think there's a little bit of fraudulence, maybe more than a little. I'm downplaying it. It's more than a little, but I don't want to talk about Pep now. I want to talk about Moruinho, because Moruinho is the one that's going to have to set up his team against Pep Guardiola this weekend. What do you think is like? What I'm trying to get at is who has the harder task this season? Because Pep Guardiola, by all accounts, everyone expects Man City to challenge for the title. Jose Mourinho, by all accounts, is sort of last chance saloon at Spurs to try and show people that he's not dusted. Who do you think, like, when you have to weigh up what both managers have to sort of contend with this season, who's got it harder?
I think they're both in the same position, to be perfectly honest, on different ends of the spectrum. I think because we're trying to ascend to a point where we're actually putting silverware in the cabinet, and he comes with such an illustrious resume, I think the expectation is sort of minimal on him in terms of Moruinho. I know people like to ham it up a bit and say, oh, he has to win something. No, he doesn't. He's got nothing to prove in his career other than his sort of victory lap, if you will. If he does well at Spurs, he gets another big job. He rides off into the sunlight as the special one all over again. Whereas Pep, for me, he's achieved all there is to achieve in the game. And as Steve mentioned, he's a god at City. Nothing he does at City is going to temper his reputation. Nothing he does there is really going to prove anything different than what we already know. He's the best manager in the world for maybe the last decade. There's no dispute to that. I think the only issue with Pep is the fact that, similar to Mourinho, his teams usually go in like these 3-year cycles. He established a style of football in his first 2 years, quite slowly and methodically, but then as soon as it hit, it bred results. Do you get what I mean? So I think that similarly to Mourinho is one of the gifts and the curse of him. He can walk into your club and make you successful, but once the players get used to his ideology, once they get used to winning, where does the fire come from? And I think this is one of the more unique challenges for him that I think he's had over the course of his career. Is going through that rebuild of a squad, which we've never seen him do. So
exactly,
I don't think there's any additional pressure. I just think it's a unique opportunity for both of them to prove their worth in a slightly different way than what we're used to seeing.
Yeah, I hear that.